Are you currently taking a break from WoW? Maybe you just, decided to step away for the rest of Season 2 and wait for Season 3, or whatever reason you've just kind of decided to not play WoW this summer, maybe go touch some grass. Well, patch 11.1.7 goes live very soon, and maybe it's worth coming back for. Some cool stuff happening in it, a few events, some lore stuff and everything else. Why you should come back for 11.1.7. Everything you need to know here from Dalaran Gaming. Let's check this thing out.
My name is Dal. Patch 11.1.7 is releasing in just a handful of days, which is going to be a fantastic catch-up update for any players currently playing in the War Within, preparing for Season 3 content, or any players that are looking to potentially dive back into the game for potentially the first time after a number of expansions. And recently I got so many more of you guys asking me directly, hey Dal, is it worth returning to the game right now? Is patch 11.1.7 potentially might be something worth coming back to, especially for players that haven't played the game for some bit of time? In my personal opinion, War Within so far has been a ton of fun. And the future content that we could look forward to Midnight Update, the Housing Update, Legion Remix, I think there's so much more stuff to be excited for. However, I didn't want to let my excitement really get too far ahead of me. Instead, I wanted
the Housing Update is very exciting. I will say, like, just as a side note, if you like to play this game competitively and you've taken a break, probably the best time to come back is during like a 0.7 patch, because there's always so many catch-up mechanics. You can literally come back in like a 0.7 patch and then do all these catch-up mechanics and be caught up for the start of the next season. Basically, you won't be behind at all, and you can just pick up at the same spot as everybody else does. If you don't play the game competitively, if you don't really care about where your standings are, item level, things like that, then you could just join at the start of a new season and not give a shit and just, play the new content, whatever it is. But if you, as I said, if you like to play the game at a high level and competitively, a 0.7 patch is a great time to join, because you can just catch up to everybody and put yourself in basically ready mode for the next season to kick off.
To present you a video as to what you can expect if you were to come back to the game for the patch 11.1.7 specifically. I think out of all the patches, this would be some of the best time to return because of so many different catch-ups. But I also wanted to go over what you can expect out of the patch 11.1.7, especially as a returning player who hasn't played for quite a bit of time, but also a look ahead as to some of the other content that you'll likely be able to experience shortly after the launch of this catch-up update. As always though, if you guys want to see more videos like these for the War Within expansion, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. If you were to come back to the game, I think patch 11.1.7 would be your best time to do so, mostly because this is going to be a big catch-up batch, especially in preparation for Seasonal 3 content, which we know so very little about right now, but there's so much anticipation with it within the community. Patch 11.1.7 brings with it Turbulent Timeways, which is essentially just a juiced up version of a time walking week.
The Turbulent Timeways events, honestly, one of the things I'm most excited for because of the mount reward that you can get from this thing. We just talked about it a second ago, literally, but the Infinite Dragon Pirate mount, amazing. The best one that they've done for any of these Turbulent Timeways events, for sure. This guy might actually be Asmongold, reacts 24/7, he's balding, looks at WoW patches and then shits on them.
Where instead of being a time walking week that you get every so often, you're just going to be back-to-back time walking weeks. During that time,
I want Plunderstorm Remix back.
To gain an extra buff.
We're going to get Legion Remix soon, and Plunderstorm, yeah, I would love to see it come back. I enjoy Plunderstorm.
Allows you to increase the amount of experience you gain within time walking dungeons. Then afterwards, you collect this buff. You can either take it and quest in the open world, or just spam time walking dungeons all the way to max level, since they'll continue to scale with your character. And it'll be one of the fastest ways for you to be able to gain giga quick levels just with spamming dungeon content. But also that dungeon content will give you some catch-up gear, but at least it's going to get you up and running when you hit max level. It also will be a great source of regular weekly gear, as well as you're looking to get your character geared before new seasonal content, as max level players will be able to get hero track pieces, which is some really decent items from the Liberation of Undermine raid. And after the fact that those items now can be upgraded to way higher item levels, they become a lot more competitive and a lot stronger heading into the next season. So just by spamming out weekly content, which gives you something to do, if you're someone who likes weekly activities, it gives you an opportunity for some fantastic gear from this raid that helps you at least get ready for the next upcoming update.
Right. That
Reaching
makes
max
sense.
level is actually something that I've done recently when I got my character up and running over on the EU realms, and I noticed that the level up campaign is actually quite smooth. You don't need to do technically every single story quest line, though if you haven't played War Within, I feel like it's worth it just to make sure that you have the context as to what the first patch with the Nervar Palace was all about, how it transitions into the Undermine, and how it's
Right.
going to transition into whatever Season 3 content is.
I mean, the good thing now is like it used to be you would have had to try to form up a group to do the old raid content, and that would have probably been nearly impossible because nobody's running the old raid content. But now what you can basically do is do the entire campaign quest, go through all of that if you want to catch up with the story, and then do the story mode version of the old raid. Right, go in there, do the story mode, see the cinematic, figure out where we are in the story, and then continue on from there. Story mode rating is a great way to catch up with lore. So yeah, you will not be behind anymore, especially if you haven't even played this expansion yet. Yeah, go through the entire campaign for sure, and then play the story mode version of the raid, and you'll be right where everyone else is in terms of lore.
Going to bring. The actual quests themselves are pretty easy. They'll give you a bunch of currencies for you to upgrade gear. They also will give you some really decent start to level pieces in order to at least get your character up and running so the open world content isn't all that dangerous. But if you did want to skip through most of them and just get all the important quests, it's totally easy to do so even on a brand new character. You don't have to do literally every single quest out there, just enough questing in order to be able to unlock world quests initially and then unlock the zone of Undermine, and then from there waiting until more story content updates for the patch 11.2.
That's right. Yeah, and J Mall says in the chat, can't wait for this patch because 11.2 should be hitting the PTR next. That's right. Yeah, it should be. And the nice thing about 11.2, it's the final season. Final season of the War Within. There will not be a fourth remix season or anything like that. So we're going to get Season 3 very soon, PTR testing and everything else. And that'll be the season that leads us into the Midnight expansion. So yeah, that's exciting stuff for sure.
Another feature that's going to be made available in 11.17, like if you haven't played the game for a while and you just don't really know how your class has evolved over the past few expansions, the rotation helper is going to be there, as well as the one button rotation, in order to help you get started and at least start to relearn your class through in-game UI. In most cases, players have to go and look through hours of guides and read a ton of information, how their classes have evolved and what the meta is like, but with the rotation helper, you can actually use an in-game feature to catch up and figure out how your class is played as of this moment. Rotation helper is amazing for like movement skills or self-healing or cooldown usage, like major cooldown, so that is still will be up to you to learn and how to use, because that is so situation specific. But as for your basic rotation, like if you have no idea what buttons to press, there's a button that will just press the rotation for you. It'll do it at a much slower pace, so you're not going to be competitive with it, but at least it'll give you an idea of what buttons you should prioritize.
Yeah, there is a global cooldown to the single button rotation, and we got an entire video out there breaking down the statistical numbers of single button rotation, and no surprise, it's not as good as actually running your rotation yourself. So it'll be good for those people who just want to casually play the game. That's basically what it's going to, be there for. And anybody who still wants to play the game at a competitive level or do high-end raid content or Mythic Plus content, you will not be able to use the single button rotation.
And might even be able to learn the patterns as to why they're important. Like if you're a class that builds unspent resources and maybe gets a bunch of procs in between, as the button will optimize the best ability for you. As you get more comfortable with it, you can then switch to rotation helper that doesn't play the game for you but suggests what ability you should use next.
Right.
And that can be another way for newer players or returning players that haven't played the game for a while to have an easier time at least learning how to play the class through some of the new in-game tools, which is definitely going to be exciting to see how so many players are going to be able to utilize those and see if they'll get any kind of sizable improvements when it comes to end-game content.
Yeah, the rotation helper thing, that's going to be more used for sure. It's the Heckley add-on built into the game. That one's going to be one that is going to be super mainstream. A lot of people will be using it, just like they currently use the Heckley add-on. And we saw the statistical breakdown for this one as well. Not quite as good as Heckley is right now, and some people were like, their mind were blown by that. They were like, how can Blizzard not make an add-on that's as good as the add-on itself when they are the creators of the game? And the truth is, they just haven't been at it as long. Heckley's had, a freaking decade, basically, to perfect the add-on, where Blizzard's team is just getting started with this. So this thing will get better as time goes on, but even from the start, it seems like it's going to be pretty viable to basically figure out how to run your rotation and use your character properly. Sam, have you done a plus 12 yet? No, I've done plus 10s. I haven't done it. I tried. I haven't seen a reason to do a plus 12. I'm not going for the 3K IO. I just want to finish out the season with Keystone Master. How do I install Heckley add-on for Unholy DK? Just install it. It'll automatically know what class you're playing and run it. You use curse Curse Forge and go install it.
Another thing patch 11.17 is going to be good for is gearing a character. Like if you're really just trying to do some gearing.
But by the way, it's going to be disabled soon. So like maybe you just don't install it and wait for the patch to go live next week.
For the end of the season to get some rewards, or if you're looking to get a character caught up ahead of the new season, Delves is a fantastic starting point, and they have been since War Within came out. If you haven't checked out Delves whatsoever, like if you haven't played War Within at all, Delves have been surprisingly good. You don't need a group, you just need Bran to help you on your journey. Spam out Delves, get some actually decent competitive gear, as well as weekly gear, as well as gear from certain mini bosses that can spawn in within Delves as well, the Underpin specifically. Delves themselves have a bunch of cosmetic rewards, but when it comes to gearing itself, it is also one of the best places to at least get you started, as Bran doesn't say no to you when it comes to joining you on your adventures, which means that those of you that just hate pugging and pugging content with randoms and feel like you have a hard time getting into groups, Delves is a fantastic way to at least get you started.
Also, you can get yourself the what was it, the highest level crests from this as well now. So like three delve runs, you get yourself 21 of the God, I forget what the red crests. I forget what their name is right now, but you can go ahead and get those. They're gonna ban the Heckley add-on. No, they're not gonna ban the add-on, but they are gonna start to slowly but surely limit add-on access to statistics from the game. So eventually it's going to stop working, so I wouldn't even get used to using it anymore. Whether it's going to be a month from now or a year from now, they're going to slowly start to ban these, not ban them, but push these add-ons out of the game. So you might as well just use the rotation helper that's in the game and not get used to something that's going to eventually be gone.
With some gear
Gilded
to begin
crest,
with.
yeah. That's
but if you're a fan of group content like raids and dungeons, the Turbo Boost has been amazing. Being able to spam out a bunch of currencies in order to upgrade all of your items, plus having a gear vendor for you to be able to catch up with, which you can collect by either slaying bosses within the raid 4 per coin, or just by doing 4 dungeons to be able to get a cartel chip. Once you have 3, you can exchange it for certain unique items like weapons, trinkets from the raid, but also trinkets from the dungeons as well if that is some of your better gear. So it's at least a way for you to be able to focus on certain items that might just be best in slot and a necessity for your character to even function.
Yeah. And by the way, those cartel chips are now like they're no longer like time gated. Like before, they would not be able to use them as like a catch-up mechanic. Every week that you missed was a week that was gone for you to get one of these cartel coins. And the chips themselves, you can only get 1 per week. You need 3 of them to buy a piece of gear. The first quest will give you 3 automatically, and then the second time you complete it, it'll only give you 1. So you got to do 3 of them to get another piece of gear. The good thing is now it's a catch-up mechanic, so basically you could do it over and over in a single week. Right now, if you join the game, and you did the quest over and over on every difficulty of raid possible, and then did it via Mythic Plus, because you got to kill like 4 dungeon bosses or complete 4 Mythic Plus runs to complete the quest, you can get yourself 2 of your best in slot items in 1 week right now if you come back to the game. So that's a nice boost for anybody who's playing the game and is coming back for the next season.
Another feature that a lot of newer players that haven't...
That's not exactly true. Why isn't it exactly true? That's exactly what you can do. You can go ahead and get yourself 6 coins in 1 week now.
Played, let's say, for the last few expansions will have a bit of a hard time wrapping their heads around is the upgrade system that is available within War Within, which gone through iterations since the expansion of Dragonflight, which is where it got introduced, but it is generally a good system, just kind of one that a lot of players have a hard time understanding at first. The best way I can break it down is every bit of content you do awards your currencies. One of the base ones being Valor Stones. This is awarded from literally everything that you do. Open world activities, group activities, raids, dungeons, picking up treasures, slaying enemies. The more time you spend in the game doing stuff, the more of this you're going to be able to earn. And this is like the most very basic currency that's necessary for creating crafted pieces or potentially even upgrading the gear.
Yeah, I hate Valor Stones. It's actually the thing that I'm lacking right now to finish upgrading some of my Myth Track gear. It's kind of annoying. You can get your first 3 weeks in 1 quest. Yeah. Exactly. I thought I said that. You complete 1 quest, get 3 coins, and then you got to do the quest 3 times after that to get your next 3 coins. Sam, you don't have any Myth Track gear. I do. I got my helm for 1 and my weapon. Those are both Myth Track gear
that you have, and you'll just end
from
up
completing the plus 10s
more of the game that you play. Then we have crests. These are awarded from very specific content. You can get weather crests from places like reputable open world content, or a LFR version of Liberation of Undermine, heroic dungeons, delves of lower tier. Up from there, we have the Carve Crest, which is like slightly better. That's awarded from weekly World Door activities, normal Liberation of Undermine raid, Mythic season dungeons like base Mythics, Delves of tier 6 and 7, as well as Delver's bounties. Ruin crests are kind of like the hero crest or the heroic crest, now worded from harder content like heroic raids, higher end dungeons, higher tier delves. And we have gilded, which is like the highest, basically the mythic currency more or less, awarded from mythic content, high tier dungeons, high tier delve guild stashes, but rewarded in more limited capacity. And essentially you will be using these, basically encouraging you to tackle more harder content in order to be able to upgrade the gear that you have to the next rank. These are the items you're going to need, depending on the content that you're looking for, to upgrade your pieces. And while it does seem like there's a lot of currencies to keep up with, once you get a hang of it, it's really not that bad. The best part is these currencies can be used in order to upgrade items and take them to the next level. So we have the money-making business mantle, which is just hero track, 655, basically heroic equivalent piece of gear. But if I have enough currencies that I can amass to get it to all the way to 8 out of 8, which for me right now I just need a bit of Valor Stones, which is pretty easy to obtain, I can take the item to basically equivalent to a mythic track piece. So I take an item that would be considered like heroic gear, and I'm basically upgrading into pretty much close to a mythic gear. So it's essentially a system that allows you to take base items and then upgrade.
Yeah, the upgrade system's good.
Tier.
I just wish they got rid of Valor Stones. I just don't like Valor Stones. I don't want to grind them out.
Here, normal closer to
heroic,
heroic closer to mythic, and then mythic just to break past all restrictions. At least that is the best way that I would describe the system. Again, like I said, it's one of those systems that I think is a lot easier to get a hang of once you play around with it a little bit, but it is something that a lot of newer players or returning players do generally struggle with often. However, not everybody plays WoW for the gear and when it comes to power progression. A lot of players, in fact, do play the game for the collectibles. And this is why the event of Greedy Emissary is going to be something you'll want to watch out for. This event will not be made available day 1 of 11.17. Actually, it launches on July 1st. So if you don't really care for gear, but want to just unlock a bunch of items for War Within, then July 1st may be the best time to return to the game.
I didn't realize that. So the Greedy Emissary Diablo crossover event is not starting till July 1st? Okay.
At that point, as it guarantees you an opportunity to earn some of the best looking cosmetic armor sets for each and every class out there. That's something you could work towards, but also a bunch of mounts, pets, and so many more items. There's also going to be a buff available during the Greedy Emissary called Collector's Bounty, a brand new buff that WoW never had in the past that essentially allows you to get more legacy gear. So legacy items would be things from older raids and older dungeons. A lot of players, while still have speculations as to what this could be, many assume it's going to be a transmog farmer's or a mount farmer's haven, as it increases your chances, I believe, to get some of those legacy items from older content. So, like I said, transmogs, mounts, other collectibles that you might be able to obtain. So if you're big into collecting all of those items, the Collector's Bounty might actually be your best time to return. We have no idea if it's going to be a limited time buff or if it's something that's going to reappear on the calendar once every so often, but it's definitely something that you'll want to take advantage of if you're somebody who just wants to expanding.
This thing is the unsung hero of this patch. The Collector's Bounty, the buff to legacy raid content, drop rates and stuff, that's going to be amazing. I'm going to freaking go for Invincible again and again and again, even though I've already done that a million times. And Midnight from Karazhan. I freaking got to get both of those during this event.
Your mount and transmog collections.
Fingers crossed.
And if you do end up returning back for the patch 11.17, it might actually be a very short-lived patch, as it looks like 11.2 and future content might be right on the horizon. That's probably the best part, is there's just so much to look forward to.
I think 11.2 probably hit in August, if I had to guess. Right now, if I have to just put the date out there, I don't know what the, I'll pull up the timeline. What is it? The world map, or what the hell is it? Timeline. 2025 Warcraft timeline. Roadmap, that's what they call it, roadmap. And we've looked at this before. But if I had to guess when this next patch is going to hit, let's see, 11.2 summer. I mean, it's early in the summer too. So we've already confirmed, like, this right here is these double lines will denote September, right? So that's the kickoff of the autumn. So if I had to guess, I mean, this thing looks like it's early summer for a season 3. Probably late July, August. I mean, if this patch is launching next week, yeah, maybe mid-July. Maybe mid-July for this thing. Summer officially kicks off on June 20th or whatever. So, yeah, patch 11.1.7 is hitting in the springtime, technically. And then we got, like, this June 22nd or whatever would be this double line. And then this thing launching, yeah, probably mid to late July, actually. I was saying August, but it looks like it's going to be sooner than that. August 13th, according to Wowhead. Okay, so August 13th. Got it. And then we know the Midnight expansion reveal will be, like, August 20th. Is that when Gamescom is? That's what everyone's expecting. So yeah, new raid exactly and everything. Yeah, new season, new raid. It's August, not in July. No, wait, it's June and no, it's July. What? Yeah, well, yeah, because you're imitating me and what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm just because I'm spitballing this live. I mean, I'm trying to figure out when this will happen. Yeah, late July, early August. I think that's a safe bet. We'll just throw that out there.
Or two as a WoW player in the War Within. Whether you're looking at patch 11.2 content in Season 3, which should hopefully be getting some more information over on the PTR, and we might even be able to get a pretty close to a release date to that content, knowing exactly what it's going to be. So if you are somebody who is actually planning on making your way to 11.17, it might actually not be a bad idea to wait until the patch arrives for us to get some 11.2 updates so that you can maybe plan your return around the time that Season 3 content finally launches.
Prep the return.
While still giving yourself time in order to be able to get all those collectibles and catch up in gear before the content is finally here. However, there's so much more content besides just Season 3. We also have Legion Remix news to be announced in the future, as we know that Legion Remix is going to be coming out sometime soon as well, usually as we're getting closer to the end of War Within and the release of Midnight, something to hold us over probably towards the tail end of Season 3 content. Mob Remix on its own as a feature ended up being a massive...
Oh, Cadence, that makes sense. Patch 11.2 is expected to release on August 5th, according to Icy Veins, because this is likely the day after the Turbulent Timeways event ends. And we've seen that before. The Turbulent Timeways event ending typically kicks off the next patch, so that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'd say... I was kind of right, though, at the end. My final statement, late July, early August. Yeah, August 5th would fall into that thing. So there you go. You guys all bitching me out, making it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Of success. And there's so many players out there that actually skipped out on it, but didn't realize just how many stuff you could gain and how much fun the content was going to be, and actually was that played during that time. So if you're somebody who missed out on Mob Remix and are kicking yourself, Legion Remix might be the best time to return. Essentially, it's just going to be a new way for you to replay through some of the best Legion content from back in the day, going back in time through all the memorable moments, but also allowing you to play your character in a variety of different ways, absolutely breaking and shattering through all limits of the game's combat systems, allowing you to dive into what may be some of the best content out there to absolutely obliterate it, while giving you plenty of an opportunity to get a bunch of collectibles from transmog, mounts, but I wonder if any of the older artifact weapon appearances will also be making return as well. And past that, we have the Midnight pre-patch news, as well as the much anticipated housing updates, which is by far one of the most exciting pieces of content that whole expansion I think has to offer. While we know very little as to what Midnight is going to be story-wise, content-wise, the housing update by itself is looking better and better the more information they release about it. And this most recent preview, I think, has wowed just about everybody out there. I mean, I don't know if WoW players really were expecting some kind of like a massive system of its own just for housing, but it looks really robust, incredibly customizable,
housing's going to be a great
and a lot better than most players expected for them to release. So it's actually, it looks like it's going to be another fantastic feature that's going to be invested heavily into, and something many players are looking forward to, and will likely be getting even more content as well as previews for this feature shortly after the launch of 11.17. So hopefully this video at least gives you a handful of ideas as to why you should return for the patch 11.17. However, at the end of the day, the choice is with you. I just want to make sure that you're aware of everything you can expect if you do end up making your return. But with that, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Also, join our Discord community if you do want to keep up with regular upcoming updates with 11.17, more guides, patch 11.2 stuff that will likely be appearing on PTR, Legion Remix, housing updates for Midnight, and so much more.
Remix.
Also, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Nice. Fib, what's up, by the way, man? Good morning. Are you going to run Legion Remix raids? Probably not. Because that would require me to actually level up a Legion Remix character, and I don't know if I'm going to do that. I haven't decided yet. We'll see if I actually get into... I didn't get enough into, like, Pandaria Remix to actually level up a tune to be raiding on him and everything else. I guess we'll see. I'm just, like, a very retail Andy, so I don't really play too many alternate versions of this game. But a nice video here. Good time to come back. Of course, as I said, a 0.7 patch is a good time to come back because it preps you for the next season. So you get ready to go into that. Overall, some fun stuff to do. Turbulent Timeways, everything else. Looking exciting. So, yeah, good catch-up patch for people who missed the game so far.